Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Diverse Goddess. It's Hannah, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the law of attraction and what they don't tell you. So keep watching. So the law of attraction, this is something that has really kind of taken off in terms of the mainstream media ever since I think it was the book and then the movie The Secret came out. And the law of attraction, however, has been around forever, even before all that. Is just now that people are more conscious about it. And so what exactly is the law of attraction? So the law of attraction basically states that what you think and feel eventually gets manifested in physical form. And from my understanding is, yes, there is a lot of truth to this, because our thoughts are basically vibrational waves that then get sent out as a form of communication. And what we put out as a form of communication mirrors back to us or bounces back to us. There's many laws in the universe, and one of them is the law of attraction. It's kind of like the law of karma, which you put out, you get back, except this is more based on your thoughts and your feelings, and how, I guess you could say, it's based on your feelings, which then dictate your thoughts, which then manifests into physical form. So a good example of this, of what the law of attraction would look like or what it means, is if you went outside your house, or say out into the open outside, and you shouted hello to the universe, all of a sudden what would you hear bounce back? You would hear an echo that bounces back and says hello, because it was a vibration. When you spoke the words hello, it is energy that then went out into the universe, and then the universe bounced back and echoed hello back to you. It's the same thing with your thoughts, because your thoughts have the same sort of vibrational communication. And so that's kind of how it works in a nutshell, is that basically it's your vibrational essence, if you will, that gets communicated outwardly, and then it gets manifested back to you. And it's not just everything, it's not just humans that communicate with life. It's everything in the planet communicates with each other. Like the birds communicate with the trees, the rain communicates with the trees and the animals, everything. All plants communicate with each other. Everything is in a form of communication, and everything responds to that communication. So we are no different. And the strongest form of communication is, believe it or not, is our feeling, how we emotionally feel, which usually dictate our thoughts. But some of the things that I want to go over today is some of the things that they don't tell you about the law of attraction, or that they don't really explain, or they kind of don't tell you at all. And because a lot of people, I think, sometimes think, oh, the law of attraction is just imaginary thinking, and you can't just think something and it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. And yes, there is some truth to that, but the law of attraction is also real. And what I mean by this is an example is, like, let's say you're sitting in a room and that room is extremely messy. And so you're like, okay, I want to apply the law of attraction to this messy room. I want to manifest a clean room. And so you sit there and you sit in this messy room and you're like, okay, I'm visualizing, I want to, manifest and have a clean room. So you sit there and you visualize and you think about having a clean room while you're sitting in a messy room. And then you open your eyes and then you realize, you look around, you're like, okay, the room is still messy, so the law of attraction is not real. And that's what a lot of people are assuming or thinking, but that's where they get it wrong. Because yes, you have to visualize. The law of attraction cannot work if there is no action. Because attraction means traction, means movement. So you have to have movement towards your goal. So if you just sit there visualizing a clean room, that's only one step of the law of attraction. The second step is like, okay, you visualize having a clean room. Now you have to take the action to have a clean room. You either have to get up off your ass and clean it yourself, or you have to make a plan and an action, hence traction towards that goal, to get somebody else to clean it. And that's how the law of attraction works. So it's not just the vision that you need action towards that vision. This isn't a lazy man's way of trying to bring into your life what you wish you want. It's just about having a clear vision, a clear goal in mind. And yes, you might have a plan for how that's going to come about, but that doesn't mean that the universe can't work with you or life can't work with you to also bring those goals or wants or needs into reality. And some of you might be thinking, okay, well, I do have the vision and I've even put forth action towards that vision, but it's still not happening, or it fell apart or whatnot. And the thing is, sometimes you have to stay on course. And people always assume that the law of attraction means that, it's always going to work out and it's going to work out beautifully and that there's going to never be any bumps in the road. And that's not realistic. And the only thing I can say to that, like why I was saying it's not realistic, that it's just going to be a smooth ride, is because it's not. It's like if you ever learned to ride a bike and you fell off your bike the first time, did you throw away the bike and just be like, I'm never going to learn, you see, I can't learn to ride a bike? No, you just dusted yourself off, got back on the bike and started pedaling again. And eventually you learned how to ride a bike without falling. But did it happen like that? No, it was a process. And the same thing with the law of attraction. It's not an express train. Sometimes it's a local train. You have to pick up a lot of people, or you have to meet a lot of people, or you have to make a lot of stops to get to your destination, because the destination, yes, that's your goal, but there are steps and things that maybe you need to learn, or maybe things that you need to gather, or people you need to meet in order to get there. And staying on course is always key, because again, let's say you have a job and then you get fired from your job. Do you automatically say to yourself, oh, that's it, I'm never going to find another job and there's no other jobs ever going to be out there again? And that's how a lot of people think, unfortunately, because they have limited mindsets. They only see one path to their goal when life sees many paths to your goal. And a lot of people, because they have very limited ways of seeing things, it's almost like tunnel vision. It would be like, let's say you want to get to a location, right? And then someone says, meet me at 56th Street and 5th Avenue or something like that. If the route I take, because I only see one path to get there, and let's say the train breaks down or whatnot, and I'm like, you know what? I only saw one path to get there and the train broke down, so there it goes. I can't get to my destination. But in truth, I can take the bus, I can maybe get an Uber. Like, there are many paths to get to the same destination, but because people limit themselves and they limit ways of making it come true, like life sees the many paths to get there, but unfortunately you as the person, you don't see them. And then therefore you kind of block your own way of getting there. So people forget that they also have to keep an open mind, not a limited mind, an open mind. Because if you say to yourself, there's only one way to do this, or there's only one way to go about this, that's almost a guaranteed way of saying that it's probably not going to work out. Because if there's only one way to make it work, and then let's say it doesn't work out, then yeah, you're kind of screwed. So you have to remain open and say, there are many ways that this can work out. So yes, that is one of the things that I think people forget to mention or tell you about the law of attraction, is that you can't be limited in your thinking. And the other thing that I feel people forget to talk about or tell you about the law of attraction is that some people might be like, okay, yes, I've done the vision, I've done the action, and now, yes, I'm ready to receive, and yet it's not coming or whatever, it's not working. But they're also, because the law of attraction is based on your emotional state of being a lot of the time, if you're somebody, yes, we all want things in life, we all desire things, but how worthy do you feel about receiving certain things? Like, some people might desire to have a lover in their life, and they know what that lover can be like, or look like, or feel like, or sound like, or whatever it is. You have that person in your mind. But for whatever reason, deep inside, maybe you still don't love yourself, and therefore you don't feel worthy of being loved by somebody. And so therefore that lack of worthiness to receive is a block. And so a lot of times people have to work on their self-esteem, or let's say somebody, wishes to be very successful, but they feel, if they really get honest with themselves, they feel very small as a person. And so therefore that in itself is also going to be a block to your goals as well, because you also have to be worthy to receive. And maybe I'll do a video on worthiness, because sometimes I do feel there's a worthiness problem, which is also a form of pandemic. But yes, so people, you have to feel worthy to receive. And some people even say things like, oh, don't give your power away, or never give away your power. But you can't give away something if you don't even know you have it. And that's how some people truly feel. They don't even realize they have power. So you can't receive something if you don't truly feel you're worthy of it or can truly have it. And the other thing about the law of attraction that people don't tell you, or people misunderstand, is that they always assume like attracts like. And I think this is a misunderstanding, because sometimes what happens is, let's say somebody, they say like, oh, I'm a really sweet person and I'm a very caring person, but I always attract these narcissistic people around me, or I always attract the wrong people around me. And then you got, the law of attraction, Nazis coming at them being like, oh, well, like attracts like, and, maybe it's something you're doing. And yes, there is some truth to that, but it's not always like attracts like. Because sometimes I have people who write to me and say, like, I always seem to attract the wrong type of person. But, I feel I'm a good-natured person, I'm a kind person, but I always seem to attract people who take advantage of my good nature, or just narcissists in general. And so why is this if I don't feel like that's what I'm putting out into the world? And my understanding, or even observation of this, of what's happening in that case, if you truly are, say, a sensitive person, an empath, like I said, sometimes we attract people that have what we need or what we can give them. But that doesn't mean you have to stay with the narky person or the asshole or whatever. You have free will, you can do whatever the hell you want. But sometimes that's what's happening. But the other thing that I feel that's happening is that our energy, we don't always know what we're feeling and what we're thinking 100% of the time. And of course, the goal is to be more aware of ourselves so we can do things in a more conscious manner. But let's say you're somebody and you grew up in an abusive environment. Maybe you had an abusive father, mother, whatever, or you had an alcoholic, or you were in a situation that was kind of toxic. And therefore, it created some wounding in you. But that doesn't mean that you turned out to be a mean person, or that doesn't mean you turned out to be a bad person, or that your energy is wrong. But you do have some scars that are still left unhealed. And so that's why when I talk about healing in my other videos, that's why healing is so important. Because when you have wounds, and spiritual wounds, the ones that you can't see, the emotional ones that people can't see, when you don't heal them, those act as almost energetic leaks in a person. So if you're not aware that you're leaking, you're sending out energy for other people to kind of gravitate towards. For example, let's say you're swimming and you have a cut or a wound and you start bleeding in the water. What's going to happen? Or you swim in the ocean, right? And let's say the shark, all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I smell blood. Where is it? And they come towards you. So now all of a sudden all these sharks are coming towards you. But you're just like, why are all these sharks coming towards me? Because maybe you're not aware of that wound that's open. You're not aware that you're leaking blood. And so that's the same thing sometimes with good-hearted people, that they don't always realize that they still have some wounding or some healing left to be done to kind of close up those energetic leakages. So that's kind of my take on what's happening there, because it is sometimes frustrating to me when people are always like, oh, well, you attracted that to yourself. And yes, you did to a certain degree. But it doesn't mean that you're like somebody else. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. If you're a narcissist, if you attract narcissists to you, that you're automatically narcissist, It just means that, that does give you an opportunity to be like, why am I attracting so many people to me that I don't want? Maybe I am leaking. And so the only thing I can say in those situations, if that's the case, then I would just take a good hard look at what life is trying to tell you. And it's probably telling you that there are areas in yourself that you still need to heal. And as soon as you heal those areas, guess what? Those sharks stop finding you. It just like if you heal that wound or you cover it up or prevent it from bleeding, the next time you go in the ocean, guess what? The sharks aren't going to find it because your blood is not out there, sending out a signal for them to come, devour you. And now you're good to go. And the other thing about the law of attraction that they don't tell you that I want to talk about, that a lot of people don't mention even when they talk about the law of attraction in lectures or classes. And a lot of times I'm sure they don't talk about it because they either, don't factor it in or it's not appropriate, is that I want to talk about the topic of sexual energy. Because we are sexual beings and our life force is, can be manifested in the form of sexual energy. And I don't mean just having sex with someone else. I'm talking about when people pleasure, self-gratify, whatever you want to call it. And so it's not talked about, but there is a lot of power in that action. Because again, the law of attraction responds to your emotional well-being and your thoughts. And so when you're in a sexual act of any kind, including the one with yourself, the law of attraction is also working. And sexual energy is not a bad thing because sexual energy is a creative energy. Hence, when two people get together, what happens? They create a child or a baby. So sexual energy is pure creation. But what I also want to talk about is when that sexual energy can get channeled or directed in a destructive way rather than creative. So what I'm talking about is I'm talking about where you can energetically rape somebody. Just the same way you can physically rape somebody, you can spiritually, energetically, in a metaphysical way rape somebody as well. And because again, our thoughts eventually manifest into reality. So when you think about somebody or a particular person, you are in essence energetically raping them. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear this because people are like, oh, well, that's my fantasy and it's just in my head and, I'm allowed to have it. Of course you're allowed to have it. You're allowed to think whatever the hell you want. But that doesn't mean that the law of attraction does not apply here, because it absolutely does. The law of attraction also applies to sexual energy or when you self-gratify, and the thoughts and the images or whatever it is that you're thinking about when you're in that state. It doesn't exempt it, if you will. It can't, because the law of attraction is not biased like that. It doesn't say, okay, law of attraction is going to work here, but it doesn't have to work here. And I don't need to go into graphic detail about how all that energy, when it goes out, manifests and happens. But I do want to say it absolutely does manifest. And if you look at the world we live in, look at all the pornography that we have and how much it's grown over the years. Look at how much child trafficking we have and how much it's grown over the years, including pedophilia. Look at how much rape takes place all over the world. And it's grown over the years. All of that is sexual energy gone wrong, because it's sexual energy that has not been made creative. And yes, I'm going to say this, it is the result of self-gratifying people who have had destructive thoughts when they've been in that state of being. And so in a sense, yes, we can create our own reality, but we can also help create the reality in the world. And so that is one thing that people do not talk about or mention, again, probably because they don't feel it's, maybe family friendly or whatever. But again, this is something I want people to understand and remember and just think about. Sexual energy absolutely applies to the law of attraction. And actually, it applies even more strongly and more powerfully because you are manifesting from your very source of energy, which is the very core energy. It's the most potent, it's the most powerful. So all I'm saying by mentioning this is just be more mindful of your thoughts and your actions and everything you're feeling and thinking when you're in the midst of whatever sexual thing that's taking place in your life, whether it be with someone else or yourself or whatever it is. Be mindful of it. And I say be more mindful because I'm not trying to say that sexual energy or self-pleasure is wrong in any way. I'm just saying in the manner of which your thoughts are to be more mindful. Because the same way sex is not wrong, if you go out and physically rape somebody, then it is wrong. It's destructive and not creative. That's what I'm saying. So just be more mindful of your thoughts and your feelings when you're in certain states of sexual energy. And so moving on, another thing about the law of attraction that they don't always tell you, or I feel people misunderstand, is that yes, the law of attraction always gives you what you ask for or your wishes, but sometimes it doesn't always look how you think it's going to look. Excuse me. For example, let's say your goal or you want to manifest food in your life. You're like, okay, I'm manifesting food, I'm manifesting food. And then all of a sudden life gives you like a fruit basket and you're just kind of like, oh, you know, what I wanted was cake and cookies and cheeseburgers. What is this? Law of attraction doesn't work. This is not what I asked for, what I thought it was going to look like. And actually, it did give you what you wanted. It did, which is it fed you. It gave you food. And what the law of attraction is always going to do is that it's always going to give you what you asked for, but in your best interest. It's always going to give it to you in the form that's going to be the most beneficial for you. Not what you think is going to be beneficial for you, but what is most beneficial for you. Because you could kind of look at the law of attraction as almost like a parent. It gives you what's in your best interest, even if you don't know what's in your best interest. So again, that fruit basket is going to be in your best interest because it's going to make you healthier, it's going to make you stronger. In the long run, it has all the vitamins that you're going to need, like cake and cookies and all that stuff. It's really not going to do much for you in the long run. And so sometimes people don't always see how the law of attraction is indeed working for them because, again, their vision is somewhere else or they're looking at something else because they're like, well, this is not what I thought it was going to look like. Look again, because it probably is in your best interest. Now, the last thing about the law of attraction that I want to talk about is that I want to mention that I do believe that law of attraction does work and it is real, as I've seen evidence of it in my own life that I know that it works. And maybe I'll do a second video or a part 2 of my experience with the law of attraction, because I have many examples from the time that I was very, very small to even now. And actually let me know below if you'd like to see or hear about my experience regarding that. But the other thing that I want to talk about regarding the law of attraction is a little more complicated, I think. I'm not sure, but is that even though I believe in the law of attraction, because like I said, I've experienced it and I know that it's real and it works, but I believe in the law of attraction, but within circumstances. And what I mean by circumstances is that so many people feel that every single thing in your life is a product of your law of attraction or of your doing and your fault in some cases. And even though I believe that to a degree, but like I said, I believe in the law of attraction, but within circumstances. And an example is that, say you're born in a third world country and there is no resources for food, or you're starving to death, or somebody who's born into sex slavery, sex trafficking. There are systems already in place that almost make it impossible for you to get out of certain situations, especially like say you're born into sex slavery. I mean, some of those people, they're never getting out. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll hunt them down if they try to get out. Blackmail them, whatever, the list goes on. There's a system already in place that almost makes it impossible. And have there been cases where people have, let's say in third world countries, they get fed or whatnot? Of course. Have there been cases where people have come out of and escaped and got freed from sex slavery? Of course. There are always exceptions and examples. But of course, for me, sometimes when I think about it, if you don't even know that you can apply the law of attraction, how can you get out of a certain situation, especially in extreme cases? So for me, I still kind of feel like there's another element missing, and I don't really know what that element is. But I also believe in historical manifestation, if you will. So, there are things that our ancestors have done or things that people have done in the past that can kind of affect our manifestation or our life in this life to a degree. So I think there's there are many layers to the law of attraction and manifestation, and it's not just confined to just you and you alone. I think there are many factors and many layers that can contribute. And so maybe you can give me some insight on how you feel about, cases where, say, someone is like in a third world country or born into sex slavery, where again, like it's almost impossible to get out of a situation. And yeah, you can tell somebody, oh yeah, just apply the law of attraction. And I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I'm just saying I don't know, in that case, how the law of attraction is going to work if the system is already in place to kind of keep you in certain situations. So I don't know. Like so there are some situations that I feel that there are other elements going on. And I can't quite put my finger on what that is. And like I said, if you have any insight that you'd like to share, just share them below. So I do absolutely believe in the law of attraction, but within circumstances. And so I don't think it's just as cut and dry as some people try to say that it is. And like I said, I think there are many layers and even historical manifestations or historical law of attraction, if that's a thing, going on as well, and systematic things going on. So on that note, I'm going to end today's video, and if you have any stories or questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Or if you have any topic ideas that you would like me to cover in the future, also let me know. And actually, starting next week, I'm going to be starting my series on astrology. It's going to be 14 days of astrology leading up to Halloween, so you're not going to want to miss that. And you can also find me on Instagram at Hannah Rokes. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!